We're live. Welcome to
Welcome to
Vendor
Corner!
Corner.
Yay!
This is episode number 1, and we are here to interview Genevieve. Hi.
Hi.
We are here with Jay. Jay is a beautiful artist. He brings so much to the table in the art community. We are here with astrologer and psychic, one of my besties, Peter Marks, and the beautiful Genevieve, Evie, Eve, but never Jen, Genevieve, earthly mystic. So, who are you?
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I am Earthly Mystic. That is my creatrix name. I am a polymer clay artist, and I have a small business.
Beautiful. So what do you create with this polymer art? Tell us more.
So all my art is inspired by nature. I can't and won't stop making trees and mushrooms out of clay. I'm literally obsessed. So my clay is oven baked. It's not ceramics, it's polymer clay. So I put all my clay in my kitchen oven. And then in 20 minutes, bam, it's fresh, it's out, and it's ready to
Bam,
go.
you have this beautiful earring. Hey.
Yes, they make jewelry.
What?
Are those the same earrings?
They're earrings. These are the
They are.
earrings
They're
that
so
Genevieve
nice.
makes. They're beautiful.
Those are crazy.
I also have like my blue ones. I'm obsessed. I couldn't decide which ones I wanted.
Aw.
Oops, so I got my blue ones with my gold
Wow,
dots.
look at those. Filled with
and-
energy.
Right? Filled. I love them.
Yes.
They're filled with love. She's super creative. First thing that I noticed when I met Genevieve is that there was this huge amount of love. She floated in with all this love like an angelic fairy and was like, hey, what's up? I love your stuff. And she was first checking out my table. And I was like, I need to know you. I just need to know who you are and what you're all about. And we clicked. We kept conversating back and forth. And then we started vending together. And it's just been such a beautiful experience to get to know each other. We sit, we have ample conversations while we vend. And we really talk about anything and everything, usually in a group of people powwowing together as we vend. So it's a very nice, I'd say relaxed experience together, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. So how did you get started, or why did you get started?
Yeah, so growing up, I thought I was a terrible artist. I thought I couldn't draw, couldn't make art because people told me that it wasn't good enough growing up in school. So I always felt that if it didn't look like it was supposed to, then why even make art? And through my spiritual journey, when I turned 20, I went to college in New Paltz, and that's a very creative school. A lot of people are artsy. And I was like, let me just like explore my art. So I started painting and drawing more just for fun. And I love jewelry, but I always break things or lose it. So I'm like, why don't I just make my own jewelry? And I started making earrings just for fun. Like sometimes they would break. They were, hanging by a thread, but I tried my best. And I would go out and women like in the bathroom would be like, "Oh my God, I love your earrings. Where'd you get them?" And I was like, "I made them." And they're like, "Wow, like that's so awesome." And I would be like, "Here you go." And I would like wake up the next day and I'm like, where did all my jewelry go? And it just kept happening where I would get compliments and I would always give it away. Like my pendants, my rings, because I'm like shocked that someone likes my art. And the fact that they even wanted it blew my mind. Like even till this day, 5 years later, I'm still like blown away. People wear my art and buy it. And my friends were just like, you're giving your stuff for free. Like they would feel bad because I'm like, no, please take it. And they just were like encouraging me to start an Etsy. They were like, no, please, like take my money. I want more art from you. I don't want to take it for free. And really that's like how it started of like I was like shocked and I was just making it for fun. And then it started into something bigger.
So you just started it because you wanted jewelry that wouldn't break? You wanted something expressive? Like where did the spiral concept come from?
I wanted just to be able to like make it for myself. Like, let's say I lose it, I can just make another one. Like, I can just do something else. And the spirals were also in the beginning. It was also very therapeutic to like roll it out and then just like make it into that shape. Because for me, it's really therapeutic. Like, yes, I started making it just for jewelry, but in the process, I was like, oh wait, this is so nice. And I would do it every day, after
Mm.
work or after school during that time. And I would just constantly be making art and listening to music. And so the spirals also, I'm very connected to that, the cycles and, all of those kind of things. So that just kept on happening throughout the, process of my business.
Before I get to ask my next question, do either of you have a question?
Absolutely. So I heard that you just gave it away. Did you ever feel like your energy leave when you like gave it away? Like in a good way, but like
Yeah,
yeah.
I did. I did because I was like, wow, like I put so much love into this. And when I would see it on someone else, their smile, it was like a beautiful reflection moment. And then when I would see them wearing it, I'm like,
My
because
stuff.
it's almost like I feel the energy. Yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Hmm.
It's so funny to see you, like, because you're so, the way you carry yourself, you're always a very gentle and loving person. At every show, you just set the tone. You're warm, you're welcoming, you set it up. We always have fun when we start together. And I've always just struck this nice balance with you. I don't want to say take for granted, but I think that I never knew how you started off insecure with what you created, because you're so relaxed now when you work with people, and you have a really unique way of how you interact with people. You're very into like bartering, or I mean, obviously it's still a business, you need to make money, but there's this very soft feminine energy that you emit to everyone that you interact with that draws people to you. And I feel like, being the observer to you and your energy, that you just thrive in any environment that you're in, and you just radiate people to you because you're just happy to be there. You're happy to be yourself. You're happy to be in your truth. You're happy to make your art, sell your art, talk about art, be in the area, listen to music, create a loving space around you. So it just draws all this like love and femininity that you exude, just draws people to you. Do you feel like that's also how you feel?
100%. It brings me so much joy just to be in that environment. And like you've seen my setup. So like I have fun. Like I don't mess around. Like I
I
bring a
know.
whole forest on my table.
She
Like,
does. I wish I had
yes.
pictures. I'll have to post the pictures.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got to get those pictures up. That would have been good to have them on the show, though. We'd see like the forest in the background.
I know.
Find them
For
online.
sure.
Put them up.
I was going to actually ask you your date of birth because your guides are coming through. Can I just ask your date of birth?
Of course. September 15th,
September 15th of what year, honey?
1997.
1997. All right,
Peter is like my spiritual fairy godfather. I love this man.
they're going to give me information as you continue, but I'm being shown in the past life Indian. They're saying Native American. So you did have Native American ancestry to you, and boy, you psychic.
You're on point. I did a past life session and I
God,
Native
you are
American. Yeah.
yeah, you're
Just
amazingly
amazing.
psychic.
I love it.
Love
So
that.
tell me about that native. Tell me about that lifestyle. Since you researched it already, give us a little more.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the past life session, I was a Native American. I was a woodworker, which makes sense of like, and I'm like actually want to get into that, but that's another conversation in the session. But
That's a later conversation.
yeah.
Later
Um,
conversation.
but the art I make right now resembles trees, like the clay. Like my favorite texture is bark. So a lot of my art, the base is a tree out of clay. And that just like really came to me. So like a little backstory, when I started my Etsy, I had a different name. I was Zen Rose Creations. And that name just kind of came to me because I was like, oh, well, I'm really Zen. And someone used to call me Genevieve. So
I
that's how
love
it
that.
came. My middle name is Rose, and I make creations. So I was like, okay, that feels good. And that I had that name for about 2 years, and I was just making random art that came to me during that time. And I started doing the moss towards the end, and my friend had a fairy party. And that was the first time I ever dressed up as a fairy, and oh my gosh, it activated something inside of me. My like inner child felt so seen, and I really connected to this part of me that I didn't even know existed. And it just like download, I'm like, I'm earthly mystic. And my art just like transformed since then. Like completely like earth tone nature, like mushrooms, fairy, like very like gnome essence. And I've never felt more connected to my art than I do now. And Teresa, that's why you feel that like relaxation from me, because this is just like literally like so much love for me. You know, it's just like this is what I'm meant to do, like for fun. It's a hobby for me. Genuinely, like it is a hobby, and it brings me so much joy because it's like my meditation. So when I'm sitting there, I'm like, ah, this is all what I made when I was meditating.
I met you in the summer, so I spent so many shows just sitting in the sun with you, and I just feel like every time we sit in space together, there is this big warm glow, and it's completely nonverbal. It just echoes out past the table because we're all sitting in a group. We all love each other. We're all enjoying each other's company. The sun's shining. It's a beautiful summer day on Long Island, and there's Genevieve, just big and just everyone's coming to see her. She's thrilled, and she's like, the exchanges are so genuine and connected, and people love, like everybody is so drawn to her table because it's just everything is so intricate. She lays the whole table down with this like moss topper, and then she has all these little tchotchkes that she puts on, and she displays her art, and she's got all these interesting little things that you just, oh, what's this? Oh, and it's like, it reminds me of like Ariel from like the Little Mermaid, the like treasure chest, because it's like it's a cheese cutter, it's a hair clip, but there's like clay on it.
Gizmos of plenty. I got goosets and
Exactly.
what's it below.
I love that so much. It's so on point.
You know,
Right?
Bob? I got
Hi,
20.
Belle.
No
But
big
who
deal.
cares? I
I
want more.
want
You're on a roll, Teresa, tonight, aren't you?
I know. Well, Genevieve and I, like I said, I love being with all of you. You all make me
Yes.
so happy. And this is just very relaxed for me. Like doing this podcast, I've been sitting on for almost a year. And and Genevieve knows because we talk about it a lot. There's no community like the vendor community. When you start out, you don't know anybody, and everything is very new, and you're green, you're nervous, you're awkward, you're anxious, you don't know everything, or you hit the ground running and you're super confident. Either way, but it's like for the most part you're new, and you're trying to feel out all these new people that you meet. And a small show has like 25 vendors, maybe 10, but big shows can be 100 or more. They're inside, they're outside. It can be very anxiety. I've seen people shut down just by being a vendor at these different things. They have an overwhelming panic, and then that's it. Then they're like, pack up my table, I gotta go home, it's too many people here, and I'm so stressed out. So I feel like there's this kind of survival mentality where, like, if you're gonna be a vendor, you're setting the tone for somebody to have an experience. You're getting to the venue early, you're unpacking your table, you bring all these little, big and small things together. You're setting this stage for somebody to come and have this small experience with you that's a big experience. And then you're expressing yourself through your work, whatever it is that you do. You get, and I said this to you the other day, where you get this aha moment that comes to you, something that inspired all of us. The reason why Jay is an artist, or I'm an artist, or Genevieve is an artist, or Peter's an astrologer and a psychic, all the things that we do, at some point in our lives, we received that download and then just went for it. And when we went for it, when we were met with challenges, when we were met with new situations, we kept swimming. And when you meet example, and you come to a place where, you know, a lot of times vendors try to vend with somebody else. But if you don't have somebody else, eventually you're going to need to get something to eat. You're going to need to use the bathroom. You're going to need to go to your car, and you have to trust everything that you have put on your table with somebody in the space next to you. But when you know nobody, there is no clearer moment, definitive moment of using your intuition to trust the person next to you, aside from you, across from you, to take care of you the way that they would take care of a friend or a family member. And I think that that's a strong component of what makes the vendor community so tight, is because you recognize that I am you and you are me and we are all together. And you work off of that philosophy for the most part. Everybody works off that philosophy. So creating this podcast to highlight these amazing artists that I've had the pleasure of knowing, becoming friends with, talking about what do you like about being a vendor? Because I feel like vendor life is a life nobody really knows about unless you are the vendor, the artist, the entertainer who shows up and sets a stage for somebody to come to. And something I started hearing this year, and I think it prompted me that this has to get off the ground, is there's so many shows that are popping up now. So many people who are new to being a coordinator. And now there's a show once a week, once a weekend. And people, like I was at a show and this woman said, you know, all these shows are all alike. If I miss one, it's okay, because there'll be another version of that one, you know, next weekend. I'm not missing anything. And that was like, ooh, you know, you just, I don't judge you for saying that, because I could see how that may be on the outside, but it's not true. Because when you're the vendor and you're in the vendor community and you're walking around, there's only one Genevieve. I promise you, there's only one. Nobody has what she makes. She makes something very unique that people love and gravitate to. So even thinking about this podcast is like showcasing, like, why are you unique? Who are you? What is your story? Why did you get into doing what you're doing? Why is your table look this way? What are your dreams for the future? Why did you become a vendor? What does it mean to you? Because now people get to know the person behind vendor number 34. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to ask Genevieve, where do you see your creative work going? Because the guides just said to me, you're going to be going in a completely different direction than you have been over the past couple of years. And they're saying to me, you're going to become more well-known and more people are going to want your jewelry. So where do you see yourself in the next couple of years?
I love that. You keep giving me chills. Oh my God. Yeah, so I've actually been sitting with this a lot because I love working with my clay. I really do. But I've been feeling the shift for myself to expand creatively.
Yes.
And I've been practicing whittling, so the
Oh.
carving of the wood. Its spirit wants me to connect deeper with like natural materials because unfortunately polymer clay isn't. You know, it's not the best, but the wood, like when I'm holding it in my hand, it's very challenging. So it's definitely like a slow start, but I see myself expanding, making more like statues and little figurines and all this stuff because I love little things like that, like tchotchkes, as Teresa said, like, yes.
Favorite word,
It's true. I have tchotchkes everywhere. Like,
It's
I'm
true.
obsessed.
Coming.
They just
I'm
bring me
sending
joy.
Peter tchotchkes just on, because every time I say that word, he like makes fun of me, and I love it. We have the best time.
Oh God, you're
I
funny.
have a question about the carving. Now, are you dipping it into some kind of paint or ink first and then carving, or are you just going straight in?
I've been like going straight in. Like I feel like I had something, but it's in my room. But so with the whittling, I'm just starting. Like I have a block of wood and I've
Okay.
been making mushrooms.
Mm.
Yeah. So I just started with the mushrooms because it's very challenging. I
But
almost
it
like
makes
cut
it
off a
super
finger.
organic now. Now it's like really organic. So you
Yeah,
kind of
now
lean
it's like a
in.
whole new territory. Yeah, it's
Cool.
very organic and it really takes a lot of patience and like compassion and knowing the wood. Like this is a whole new territory for me. And like in the past, I would always kind of like be resistant to try a different art form because of my past of feeling so discouraged of like it not coming out the way it's supposed to. But with my polymer clay, it didn't matter because it's like, clay is funky, it's different, and I
Right.
found my craft, like I found my thing. So anytime I get out of my comfort zone with art, it's like, oh, like I made those mushrooms and people are like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, oh, don't even look at it. But it is beautiful like the way it is, and I definitely want to continue to work with it because I really see myself making things that are even more durable, more like decor pieces, for people to like bring in their home, bring in their space, ceremonial spaces, because I also put a lot of love, I put Reiki, I put blessings into my art already. And even when I'm working with the crystals, like I love to incorporate all those things. So I definitely see myself expanding in that way of intuitively creating pieces for people for their spaces.
I have
Do
another
you
question.
go ahead.
No, Peter.
No, I was going to ask, do you have any people that you can remember growing up? Were there any individuals that you have admired, that you have taken some of your craft, your learning from, and transformed it into the artwork you're doing? Because the guides were also telling me you're going to be teaching.
I could
Mm.
totally see that.
I love it because I've actually taught my polymer clay. I work with
Okay.
people who have disabilities. That's the field I'm in for work.
Yes.
And I've done like week courses for a day program once, which was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. But your first question, honestly, no. Like growing up, my mom and sisters were amazing at art. Like they would just like make something and it would look like perfect, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I didn't necessarily like get inspired, but like of course, like I download. I'm an observer. I'm like an owl
Oh,
my
Yes.
whole
so
life.
much
I just
so. So much more
mm,
than you even realize.
oh,
I'm an
yeah, like
animal.
I literally have it tattooed on me. Like I'm an owl.
She,
Like
she
I
like
observe.
she's amazing. When I see her, she'll come back to me and she'll say something that just completely blows my mind. She goes, I love when you handled this 1 second. I'm like, what second was that? And then I have to really think. And she outlines the whole thing in like a dissertation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what I saw. This is what I observed. This is what happened. And you'll never know it unless you have the conversation with her.
Yeah, I'm very introverted but extroverted at the same time, and I've always kind of been like that observer kind of in the background soaking it all in. My whole life I've been
Mhm.
like that, but I've definitely become more in tune with it. And actually like using it to benefit, like not like in a way of like I'm absorbing, I'm learning, and how do I create that in my own way as well. And that has really like helped me with who I am today. Like with the clay, it was self-taught. I watched a few videos and everything else was kind of like trial and error.
The,
Yeah.
the reason I asked you that is they just said to me originality with you. That's why I asked you the question, because you're actually, I want to say to you, you've lived in such multi-dimensional times. I see you in Renaissance, I see you in Indian. You've brought in a talent for color, and you've brought in a talent for texture. And the guys are telling me they come through you, they channel you when you're creating your one of a kind. So I commend you on this, because most people will say, well, Pablo Picasso or Renoir or Monet, whatever, yours are truly original.
A
And that
hundred, a
does come
hundred
with you.
percent. That's my
Yeah,
favorite. One of my favorite things about working with Genevieve is that, like I said earlier, there is no other Genevieve. And I said
there
that
is
to
no
you when
opportunities.
we
Yes.
started working together and I asked you to vend and we've had multiple conversations and you're like, oh, it's not that. And like, what are you talking about? It's not that. Get your table, get your moss, and bring your fairy butt down here because what you do is so like I adore it. Like the spiral of life, you are so tapped in. Like as soon as I saw these earrings, I was like, I need to have them. In fact, I need to have two in different colors, and I'll be back for something else. But these earrings, like they make me feel very feminine when I wear them, but really like I'm in tune with life, you know, like I want to get out all the clothes that make me really authentically feel like myself. And I get to have this amazing self-expression. Something about them just really taps you into what it means to be in your divine feminine space, because as a feminine, all things Fibonacci, male, feminine, you're part of this circle of life. And
Yeah.
the woman, the womb, the space of creativity. We do the labyrinth. The labyrinth is a circle. We go within, and all these things kind of ping pong in, all at the same time. So, like, you know, if I'm not wearing my own stuff, because that's majority of what I wear, I'm wearing your stuff.
Wow.
So I
I
know
love
I
her.
can. I don't
Go
want to
ahead.
let her out. I don't want to let out all her secrets, but I will say this. I'm going to ask this one question. What is some of your process to create these beautiful mushrooms?
Mm. Like my process, like the way I do it, or like how does it come through?
You pick which way you want to put it.
Okay. So really like the process is so intuitive. Every time, like I gravitate towards the colors, and like when I'm making the mushrooms, like the feeling of like crafting each one is so unique. And I take like my time, you know, like it's gentle. Like mushrooms in real life are so gentle and they're all
Mm.
unique in their own way. And that's why I freaking love it, because like they could be a little messed up or a little small, and that's fine because nature is like that. And I think that's why I gravitate towards nature so much, because it's imperfect. You
Yeah.
Yeah.
know, that like it's okay if like it has a little like dent or like a little smudge or whatever, or if it's a
Perfection.
different size.
It reminds me of that Ram Dass poem about walking into the woods, where he
Mm.
says, you know, when you walk through the woods, you just accept the woods as the woods for what they are. You see the bent tree, the tree that didn't get enough light, the tree that's too tall, the tree that's too short, and you understand how the tree came to be that way, and you accept it for what it is. But then we walk out of the woods, and you know, we get into the world where we see people, and that acceptance or non-judgmental disposition kind of wanes away. So what is it
Mm.
with us people that can walk into the woods and not judge trees, but we walk out of the woods and we judge each other? So
Yeah.
what you're saying, you know, when we
Mm.
accept, like even the Oasis song, true perfection has to be imperfect. I know that sounds foolish, but it's true.
Mhm.
So it's like you're taking the perfectness of nature and expressing that perfect doesn't have to be perfect. No one's perfect. Nothing is perfect, but it's all perfect in its uniqueness. And
We're
that,
all perfectly imperfect.
exactly. It's beautiful. All these characteristics that you put in energetically, you're
Yeah.
grounded, you're present, you're loving, you're feminine, you're in your energy, you're getting the energy channeled into you. You're really loving what it is that you're creating, and you're loving the inspiration that causes you to create it. And then, you know, everybody wonders why everything that you offer to them or that they buy from you is their new favorite thing. It's not special, you know, like
Because it's
it's
all
not.
her energy involved in it too, and she's
I.
already brightening up a room. You're telling me, so it's like it's a win. You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
putting it all in one
Mm-hmm.
basket. It's gonna be
Yeah,
crazy
sometimes,
seeing this event. It's gonna be
I
crazy.
know.
yeah, I'm excited, you know, and it blows my mind sometimes when people are like, whoa, like, because I make lighter cases, you know, and that's something that people hold. I wanted to make lighter cases because, you know, when people are lighting up something or they're lighting up a candle, you know, that's energy, you know, it's intention. Sometimes people just do things without even thinking. And I
Mhm.
started making the lighter cases and I carve messages in the back, like, be here now, because Ram Dass is huge inspiration for my journey, or I'll write I am love. And these little messages, and when people hold it in their hand, they're like, this is like no other. They're like, this is so different. I feel the energy, you know, because it's the love and the intention. And then that person is now like receiving that. And it's also their love and energy too, you know, like the pieces feel it. And that's why I'm an in person seller. Like I've tried to sell online and it just like doesn't work. Not that people don't want it, but my art is meant to be seen. it honestly demands to be seen and felt. So like when you're in person, you can really like gravitate what's calling to you. I say please touch because people are like, can I touch? I'm like, yes. Because it's almost there's so much on the table, so they're like scared. But I'm like, no, touch the moss, like stand there for a little bit. I always tell kids, like, yes, like you can touch the moss, and just feel the pieces, like let them, communicate to you. And it's so fun for me to like stand there and be there. And Teresa, you mentioned before, like having people support you. A lot of the times I'm by myself. I have amazing friends who are open to helping me. But I am very independent and I have a certain way of like doing my table. A lot of my friends,
You
they'll be like, I'm gonna stand here while you do your thing because I'm a Virgo. I have my own way of doing things. Every time I set up, it looks completely different.
Very
And I'm
true.
like on a mission. I'm like on a mission. I'm like, this has to go here. And it seems like I need help, but like I don't because I genuinely like find a lot of joy. Like if they want to help me clean up, that's totally fine.
Totally different
But
experience.
Yeah.
But the setup for it,
different.
you're expressing something to somebody non-verbally. You're giving.
Mhm.
Usually it's you and I, and we have table next to each other, and we're each setting up our table, and everyone's like, "How can I help you? How can we help you? How can we be there for you?" And both of us are like, "You can be over there. That will be the most helpful thing. Like we love you, and we appreciate you appreciating us." But this, aside from creating the thing that you're offering, you're also creating this tablescape that is bringing somebody in this mini experience that's only available for one day, and your intention is coming out to somebody over something. You know what I'm talking about? Flesh that out for me, like add on to that.
I wanted to
Yeah.
let you know you've got a lot of Aquarius in you. Just so you
Do
know, you have a lot of Aquarius. You've got 3 planets in Virgo, but the higher levels of consciousness are in Aquarius.
That is so interesting. I
Yeah.
need to know more about that another time.
I'm not surprised at all.
Because Aquarius is sometimes we like clash. I'm like, ah.
Well, you clash with Aquarians because of the fact that you'll listen, but as soon as they're done speaking, you go back to exactly what you want to do.
They're just like so out there and like
Yes.
jokester. And like sometimes I'm like Virgo, like, no, we have things to do. We gotta do this. But I definitely have that side of me. I'm very eccentric, 100%. Like I
Welcome to the
embrace it
club.
so much, right?
Nobody is more eccentric than me.
When I realized that, I'm like, oh, that explains everything. And I love it.
Yes.
I love being weird. But yeah, like setting this space, to be inviting. I'm all about like setting the space. And I love that you mentioned that, Teresa. Like that's why I loved your table too when I first met you. I was like, oh my God, I need to look at everything, and touch everything. And it's an experience because I've been to tables like people's, set up where it's almost like an uncomfortable feeling because it's like everything's kind of like specific, very like organized, and they're like staring at me, and I'm just like, I don't know, can I touch anything? Should I not? Like, and I just like kind of walk away. It just doesn't feel as inviting. It's a certain energy, and nothing bad about that person, but it's this experience. I'm like, stay a while. Like, I'm drawing, I'm hanging out.
Yes.
Question: do you ever get bad energy touching your mushrooms?
I was going to ask the same question. Go ahead.
Yes, I have. I'm very open, so people also feel very open to just be blunt and like say things and express, and sometimes it definitely goes like a different way, and they come in, but it never fully affects the energy, I must say, because I feel very protected and I have all my crystals and I always cleanse everything after and make sure, that it's clean and ready for the next time. And all the crystals that I use are strictly just for my vending. But yeah, when it comes in, I'm like, whoa, like, and I end up like kind of like fixing the table again. Like when that
Always.
So
person
that's how I
leaves,
know when there's
Hey.
bad energy. I'm gonna be seeing at the table changing things. I'm like, oh, something just happened. Something
No, you
happened.
don't. It's not even. Doesn't even have to be bad. You sold 3 things, and now the entire feng shui, the energy is all off,
Yeah.
and you
I
have to
like
Literally.
recalibrate.
She
Like-
makes everything so amazing. You notice that when Teresa says something, it's like, I didn't look at it like that. That's crazy. Yeah, just
That's
the
so
energy has
true,
to be
though.
changed up a little bit.
It is the feng shui. Yeah, I'm like, wait, this looks off because it's like things were taken or moved, you know, and like that's also like kind of the Virgo energy. Like someone will move something, like, oh, sorry. I'm like, no, it's totally fine. I just need to put it here
Right.
because it's just me.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
So what do you think you'll be getting out of the event? How do you feel about like I know nobody has really it's good to never have expectations, but I'm sure you have
Mhm.
something. So I'd like to hear your input on what you think is going to happen, the feeling and the vibe.
Yeah. I've been working on some pieces for it too. I really want to bring in like self-love, and I really would love to have like conversations of that with people, you know, just like especially around that holiday, right? Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
I always like to emphasize like the love for ourselves. Like when I think about that, it's literally like the love for myself and others. And bringing like a lot of feminine energy, even to the masculine, you know, and just kind of like connecting with people in that way. I also make a lot of vulva art, and I am going to bring some for this event. I don't always bring it out, but for me, that is a way of self-expression and love. Like we come from, like, you know, the womb, right? The womb space and the yoni, the life force. And for me, when I make this art, I'm connecting to my womb, to my mother, you know, to the earth. And I love making these pieces, and I love sharing that with others. And there's always like certain spaces where I feel like comfortable and open to share that. So they'll make an appearance.
That's cool.
I love that you always feel comfortable when you and I work together. It means a lot to me, and I love the harmony that we strike.
Me too. Me too.
Aw.
Yeah, the event,
You
it
guys are
sounds
so
so
adorable.
beautiful.
Well, like we work together really well, but you know, like we've bartered together. We sit and we talk and we get into deep subjects. But I feel like as a woman, and I'm sure this is both sides. I think as a woman and as a man, we don't necessarily always hold a space for each other where we could just talk about it, you know, where what do men face? What do women face? We go through all these life things, and sometimes they're traumatic and sometimes they're very joyful. And we can't just always have surface level experiences and surface level conversations. There are people out in the world that want substance and they want more. All of us, I know, all of us that are here. So it's like when, you know, I feel like you make it okay for people to talk about the more when you bring this to the table, especially in, you know, I can only speak for like the feminine side of things, even though you direct your art to everyone. For the female, you bring like the comfort of being in your own skin. Every woman that I've ever seen you interact with, you're like, just own who you are and understand that there's a space for your sexuality. There's a space for you to be the daughter. There's a space for you to be the mother. There's a space for you to be sacred. There's a space for you to be spiritual, creative, artistic. We are all these things. And that's in part what makes the woman so amazing, is that we can hold, we can multitask, we can nurture. And when we enter into a place of self-love and confidence that allows us to really stand in our femininity without needing to shrink it or hide it or put it in a pocket. Oh my God, that guy walked by and I don't know how I feel about it. And like, can I autopilot? And all of a sudden you're doing the robot. You know, I don't know what the answer is. You know, it's like when you just hold space and you're sovereign and you're like, no, I am the divine feminine, and I own my multiple sides, and I express myself through all these ways. You just make it okay to be yourself. And then I think when I watch you like rub off with like more, you know, men or having that conversation, you make it like you give like almost like a culturing, you know, like I'm going to be here right now. I'm going to be grounded. If you have a bad attitude, or if you're coming at me with a lot of aggression, what I love watching is that you don't shrink. You're just like, no, I'm here. I'm going to take up space. I'm going to take up that space, this space, this space, all this space. And I know that that took a lot of work for you to get there. So I think that, you know, watching these things happen, because like as much as you observe me, I observe you. So these are the things that like I get to see. And it's like, it's so important for people to know that there's a sacred space for them to be in, to hold space for them, but that they can take up space too. Because sometimes it's awkward to be a woman and sometimes it's awkward to be a man. We don't know how to interact with each other all the time. So when somebody holds authentic space for themselves and for you, that I think is the gift of comfort and how we make friends and how we bridge community together.
Maybe in the future we can all come from an androgynous state of energy and being. You know, to label something male or female today, I know for both, that's what I try to do with my talent and my readings. I try to merge the male and the female together in order to give the totality of who we are. So, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that that each of us can bring that to our craft.
So Peter,
100%.
what do you think that you know, you've had your experiences before, but I want to like, I'm trying to think how I want to like frame this question. And like Jay, it would be fun for you too. You know, like
Yeah.
what does it mean for you guys to own being a man, or what does it feel like for you
We're gonna get
to
into this
like, you know,
conversation.
what do you take in love when you're in company with people around you, whether it's
We,
male or female?
we need
A lot
10
of
hours.
mushrooms.
We need
A
10
lot of
hours to
mushrooms.
do this show.
What did you say, Shay?
A lot of mushrooms. No, I'm joking.
Oh
A
my
lot of
God.
mushrooms.
You don't even
I
do
don't.
mushrooms.
I don't, dude. I just she makes them, so I'm just like I just take them all in like crystals. I'm just like mushrooms. There's a
I need a lot of love. Oh, the love comes from the.
No, I want to say in our society, for my generation, because I'm older than everybody here, I believe. For my generation, it's males fit into one role, females fit into another role. And I think that's what's causing so many problems in our world today. We need to merge the yin, the yang, the male, the feminine, and the masculine together. And I think that's where we're heading with our society today, because a lot of people that I hear, women will say, well, women feel this way. There's a lot of sensitive men out there and they sublimate it because they're afraid of being judged. And there's a lot of very tough women out there and they hide it because they're afraid of being judged. So
Yeah.
we need to allow men and women to be the total of how God created us.
I feel like there's a solution, and I have it, but I don't know if I'm actually the solution. But I
Tell
really
us
feel like
the
I do have it.
solution if you have it.
I really do. So every person in this world is creative. At some point in their life, they create something. The creativity is key. By merging what you're saying, the best way to do that is starting to work creatively together. While she's
Yeah.
making mushrooms, she's building crystals and making things that like have crystal mushrooms with the art ability behind it, with the creative points of someone different, and building all these processes.
Yes.
It'll give people an eye view to say, wow, like that's the feminine, that's the masculine. You don't have to sit there and try to mesh your body, mesh yourself. You can mesh the creativity and build so much of connection with each other, because that's all we really have is creative points. Women create children, some, and then other men could create a lifestyle for that. Now, that's something that I grew up with, is saying, okay, I could help create the lifestyle. I can't create the child, but I can create the abilities that they could help with. So we form all different ways of creativity. I really feel like that's our mesh of the yin and the yang. If that's the points we're putting into play, is once we could all be more artistic in understanding, not artistic like being an artist, but like the construction worker, the painter, the mechanic. Once everybody could be more creative on their mind states and their obstacles, that's when things are going to start having that feel. I like this conversation. It's really cool. But that's my answer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and what I'm saying is not to generate any kind of like separate ideology. I'm not trying to like separate it, but I do think it's important that we have a vantage point. If, you know, having, you know, we have to, it's a woman acknowledging herself as a woman, because we go through so many like societal pressures, as do
Yeah.
men. And like one of the things that I've learned on this journey is like a woman has no real idea what it's like to be a man, because you guys think entirely different than us. So if we talk to you like women, it's not going to land the same. We have to learn each other. There's a type of energetic expression that is unique to each individual, but then is also unique to the sexes, or, you know, a trans woman, a trans man, you know, gay or straight. You know, everybody has something unique, but there's also a flavor. There's also like the way that you know, a woman expresses her femininity. Like there's a difference between a scared woman, an angry woman, and a joyful woman, and
Mm.
that femininity is all expressed differently. And same thing with the masculine. How do we move? You know, a lot of times a woman doesn't want to have to like go out and be this like warrior. Not that she won't get things done, but it almost takes us out of balance. It's so much fun as a woman to step into a place where you get to be flowy, you know, and you get to be soft, and you're in an environment that allows you to be soft and nurturing and very in a yang. Even if you're fiery, even if you're creative, even if you're taking names and getting things done, when you are there's something healing about being able to be a woman and be in your flow. And you know, it's like when observing the way that I've seen, you know, us own our masculine, or the way that the masculine collective acts. There's a way that men feel when they know that they've done a good job being a
Yeah.
provider, being a protector, being
Sure.
in the creative phase. There's a pride and a joy that comes, a sense of selfhood that they feel good about. And I feel like that is the thing that's the equal to when women can flow. So a lot of times when I
But I
think
do
about you,
feel like
Genevieve,
it's the frequencies are changing.
Yes.
You know, there's been a lot of
Yeah.
and that's what Peter was talking about before, is that more women are coming into their masculine, and more men are
Yes.
starting to get more in touch with their feminine.
Correct.
Now, how we're building this stuff, yeah, I do believe what you're saying. You know, men do feel that pride of saying, I took care of the person in my life, that whoever that is, they took care of them. And I feel like women have that nurturing feeling because of the way that things are. But I do think that that masculine part of a woman can come out, and it's how it comes out and what it comes out
Mhm.
for.
Absolutely.
Dominate,
Absolutely.
dominating another masculine, regardless if it's male or female, because a woman feels a certain way. It does. I see the value taking away from something, and I'm like, why did that take away from that when she was just being super strong because her self had that feminine feeling inside of her?
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
You know, Genevieve, I feel the masculine. The masculine is there with you, which is terrific. So is the feminine. And that's what gives you your brilliance with your creating. Same with you, Teresa. You've got the masculine and the feminine. And Jedediah, you have it also. We all have it, and we're willing to embrace it. And I think that's why we're on the show together, because we can use it, we can embrace it, and we can share it with the world.
yes,
Agreed
Yes.
yes,
entirely.
I want to bounce off of that really quick. Oof. I yeah, like it's so important to be able to embody both. And it's
Yes.
been like a beautiful journey for me to like tap into that and like understand it and embrace it. You know, like I was almost like scared to embrace that masculine side, because when I am assertive and when I'm dominant, I've been seen as a different way, been
Yes.
misunderstood my whole life, you know, but there's a way to embody these parts and balance both of them. And I also facilitate somatic movement, and I love when there's men and women there, and I'm guiding and um like introducing the idea of like you can embody the masculine and feminine energy. You can embody who you are, and sensuality. Like that word sensuality has definitely been like, it's like, you know, almost taboo. It's like, how can a man be sensual, you know? And it's so beautiful to reframe.
Yes.
Especially like nowadays, like reframing is like a major thing. And you have to be willing to really like reframe things for yourself, you know, and embodying these parts of yourself because it's actually healing, you know, and like ripping through that shame of like, even when I'm like, oh, am I too assertive? No, actually, when I'm assertive, I get shit done. I also speak up for myself,
Yes.
you know, and and then when I'm nurturing, you know, I can like nurture myself after if I need to. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I love this conversation.
Yeah, it's, in our society, again, I'm going to be 70 soon. I believe that men
A young
shouldn't,
28, 70
yeah,
only somewhere.
we
You don't
should
know what that.
allow, we should be allowed to show our feminine side at times and also the masculine side. And it would make our society so much more productive and complete because we weren't just born to show the masculine. Men are dying in large. How do I put this? Men's mortality rate is so high because we sublimate our emotions and we can't cry and we can't show the sensitivity, and I've been fighting that for most of my life. And when I come onto these programs with Teresa and everybody, it's a release. It's a wonderful release to show everybody that we should show all the multiple sides of ourselves.
100%.
And
He's a biker in his daily life. It's such a different person when you see him. No kidding.
what was that statement?
I said you're a biker in your daily life.
He has
You
an
know,
I'm a
you
arm.
can
biker
see
in my
him.
daily life.
He's
I hate bikes.
tobacco out of his mouth. He's like, "Tuh, rah, rah."
Yeah, I hate bikes, but this is so extraordinary because I'm actually sitting here taking Genevieve's energy in. I am taking everybody's energy in, and it's so amazing. It elevates me to a higher dimension. So, yeah, I'm very appreciative of these programs, and especially our amazing guest tonight.
Thank
I know.
you.
So
Yes, I'm absorbing all your energies too.
I have two questions, but they kind of go hand in hand. Earlier you mentioned about needing to overcome the "is it good enough" feeling, and I feel like a lot of vendors, artists, musicians can be struck by that. What advice would you give to somebody to help them overcome that feeling?
Good question.
What's coming? Yeah, that's a good question. What's coming through for me is if you're not having fun, question it. But if you are having fun, don't question it. Because the more you are having fun, you're putting love and you're enjoying what you're doing, and others will see that. And also having patience, because some days, yeah, like you might not make a sale, but that doesn't mean your art is shit, you know? And I've had to really sit with that some days. Like, oh, I didn't make a sale, but I'm like, oh, but I had such a great conversation with someone and it was amazing. And that's all that I came here for. So it's also like having compassion and having the mindset, like, you know, the scarcity mindset really affects everyone in society.
Yes.
And that's why we feel like we have to do more. We have to change everything in order to receive. But I'm realizing, and even from other people who have really like taught me this, is that when you really put intention into something and you really love doing it, it's like a plant. You can't force it. When you're putting all these like chemicals, you're going to kill the plant and the quality of it, you know, to rush the process. So when you're slowly watering the plant, you're able to give it love and care. And that piece that didn't sell for 2 years, that person who eventually buys it truly needed and wanted that. And it doesn't matter how long it takes, it's the quality that is so precious. And really it's like you're showing up, and it's better not to have expectations. I've definitely learned that, and I do find myself sometimes I'm like, is this like worth the money or is it worth the time? And I like get rid of that thought right away. If the event feels good, if it feels like energetically I'm going to have a good time, then it's 100% worth it. Because I'll either have a great conversation I'll barter because I love it. Sometimes I'm like, I don't make anything, but I bartered with someone and it was great. And like when me and Teresa did that, I was like, yep, I feel satisfied. That is all. So it's like how you show up for yourself and your value. So I really believe like if you're not having fun, your work is going to represent that.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. So I have this line of questioning in my mind, and I think this is important, and I love the answers that you're giving. So that was the advice for someone to overcome the insecurity feeling. What about your advice that you'd give to someone who's new to vending?
Mm.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Good job, Teresa.
I would say, yeah, just like trust the experience and what it has to offer you. And this kind of like combines with my last, answer of connection. Like you might be new to your craft and you might not be sure how to go about things, or you might not even be sure if this is the type of art you want to do. And when you go into a space of vending world, you meet so many different people, and that could be very intimidating. Don't get me wrong. Like it's intimidating because you can see someone and you're like, they might have the same art as you. Like I've been places where someone also makes polymer clay and their art looks completely different than mine. But then they end up being like, oh, I like your art. I'm like, wow, like I like your art too. And we learn from each other. Like I think it's really important to take this time in the beginning when you first vend to learn from other people. Not that you're stealing their ideas, it's more of like a reflection,
Right.
and connecting and like learning. Like, getting advice. Like I've had so many different vendors be like, oh, like if you like maybe put your table this way, or if you get like little like boxes, people can see your art better. Like people are very supportive, when you're in the right spaces. So really like allowing yourself to connect. If you're just sitting behind the table and not talking to anyone, you might feel really stagnant. But when you walk around and see other people's art and make an effort, you'll connect and you'll feel like the energy flow better.
So now my next question. What are important things that you've learned being a vendor and being in the vendor community?
You don't always have to say yes to events. Again, that's kind of like the scarcity mindset, right? Like I have to say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might be at an event that also doesn't really energetically align. And then that can also make you question yourself too. Um, and then also getting into a space that just doesn't feel good for you. And I've been there. I've said yes to events where I don't even know the person at all. They kind of just reached out. And that was when I first started. And I felt really like low at those events. I like have left early because it was miscommunication. So I think it's really important to ask questions, make sure you know all the information. And if it's a new event, you don't always have like pictures or videos of like proof of it. So it's a lot of trust, and it's important to trust your intuition with these events. But I definitely have like gone a long way of asking questions, and feeling it out for myself, and that's okay. And if that person acts weird about it, then maybe I'm not meant to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And again, like when you are at these events, connecting more with people and they can share their experiences or different events that they're a part of. And I think there's like a lot of importance in that.
What do you think has been a key to your success?
Key to my success is, well, having fun and also just like believing in myself and not focusing so much on sales. It's, yes, of course, making money from the money I spend is great, right? But it's not about that for me. It's about sharing my craft with the world. So for me, it's just not focusing on the money. It's focusing more on the abundance that comes through the connection. That the connection with that person, even if it's just a conversation. Sometimes people feel bad if they don't buy something, and I'm like, you just looking and witnessing me is enough. And then saying that to someone, they're like, wow, thank you. Like, I don't feel pressure. So I just
Mm.
think there's a lot of importance in that.
She
Mm,
exists. She exists.
she exists, exactly.
Yes.
Um, so you and I had like these extensive conversation about the last show that we were able to do together. Can you give me like, as a coordinator, insights to things that you'd like to see more of or less of, or like what's your takeaways, what's your experience? We talked earlier this year too about exercising discernment, being in a different energy where we care about where we go and the people we share energy with and the intention and how we hold space and how space is held for us. I know that was like three questions in one, but they were all there.
Yeah, for sure. I already told you this, but I'm going to say it again for everyone to hear. I loved how Teresa showed up at this event, like literally wearing a Santa hat, wearing a back brace, fucking like killing it, running around, making sure everyone was okay. Like you connected with everyone. Here I am, observer. You checked in with everyone and then hopped on the mic right before the event, which honestly, like, usually doesn't happen. Like, any event, it's kind of like there's scattered energy and then all of a sudden it starts. Like, you took the time to check in and like just speak and like share your gratitude. And it just felt like I felt very like seen and cared for and just loved. I was like, wow, like she like genuinely wants us here and she worked her ass off like staying up all night to be here. And you didn't just say that to like be like, for ego. It was more of like genuinely like I really tried my hardest to make sure
Mm.
that people come to this event so that you're seen. And that was just like a really amazing takeaway that I saw from you. And it was a fun event, like overall, and it was long, and that's why like not everyone could stay. I even found myself, towards the end feeling that way. Um, and that's okay. That's okay if it's a long event, like it's a commitment, Um, and also like sometimes I've noticed from events, it doesn't always have to be so many vendors because sometimes like it can take away from the more intimate connections
Mhm.
with the vendors that are there,
Exactly.
like,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's just like kind of like a takeaway that I've been seeing at events, when there's so many options. That's like society today, right? There's so many options. So it's like, I liked this, but like, oh, there's something better over here. Which, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, of course, like that's life and that's fine. But sometimes it can like take away like a connection with someone because there's like a better option. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
because it's all
Yeah.
perspective at that point. Someone's perspective on this is now looking at that because it's similar to that, but it's in a different form of light than that. And they're going to just, and you want to be able to give your love, like how you created it, build with that, talk about the knowledge of it. And like at that point, there's so many vendors, there's no time. And there's so many people too. So when there's more vendors,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time you're seeing more people. And then it's like, oh, now it's to the point where you can't be intimate with the client either, or the customer, or whatever you want to call them.
Teresa, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to excuse myself. My family just got home. They're hungry, and I don't want to interfere with the flow of the show.
Oh,
I love
So,
you.
absolutely. Peter, I love you.
uh,
I'm glad that you were here.
yes, I love all of you. You're an amazing guest, Genevieve. My love to all of you, and I will see you soon.
All right. Bye,
So
Peter.
great meeting, connecting with
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye, Lovey.
He's
Um,
the best. I gotta always say that
I
every time
love
we leave.
Peter.
He's like
I,
really
I,
the best.
I love
I
him.
need like I need like a one-on-one session with him.
You definitely do. I think everybody should have a one-on-one with Peter. I adore his energy and I mean, I've had so many of my friends after meeting Peter get read by him, and the information that he tells you about yourself, both through his psychic gift and the astrology, is phenomenal. I felt like I had such an introspective year and such a self-aware year because of the insights that we exchanged, and like him giving me a reading. My sister got read by him, multiple of my friends got read by him, and he's just so good at what he does. It's really a blessing to be so close to him.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I already feel
um,
like I got confirmations from that. I also just want to add something that I mentioned before. But I loved like at the last event that every vendor was different. I just wanted to like highlight that. Like even though there was a lot of vendors, no person was the same.
Hmm.
And that was important.
It is important, and I make that happen on purpose. I really try to not double up on anybody so that everybody gets their chance to shine. And we do so many different events. You know, there's event where you have 100 vendors and 10,000 people, and it's mobbed, and it's not about, you know, you always do your best to be as intimate and as heartfelt with every person you come in contact with. And then there's small events like that's actually one of the things that I'm looking forward to with our first event, is that even if you know, having a lot of people show up, we still have between 15 and 18 vendors that are going to be there, and we're going to have, like, you know, 8 to 10 artists that are going to be there. And it feels like the opportunity to put a nice, purposeful, intentional spotlight on the individuals that are going to be there, and I get to be more present. So instead of like running around and having like 42 different vendors and then having the DJ and just, I care so much about everything. I drive myself crazy. You know, I take all these takeaways at these events that I go to as a vendor, and then I go, how would I feel? What do I feel? What do I want? How do I want people to love? I want everyone in that room to know that I love them. And I'm so grateful to work with them. I will swing around throughout the event. And the last event was long. It was the longest show that we've ever done. But what I see as a coordinator is that there's so many shows now, and they're all stacked on top of each other. They're the same day. They're different times. And in my mind, it was like, let's make this holiday extravaganza with the, there was like 2 reasons. One was like, all right, so we have, even though we launched early, there was like a shows that came behind us that was like, this one's 10 to 2 in the morning, and this one is 2 to 7, and this one is 5 to 9. And I wanted the opportunity that regardless of where people were before, during, or after, that we were available to them to have an experience. So if you were going out to a show at night, you could come see us during the day. If you were going somewhere during the day, you could come see us at night. And also, I just feel like it was at the end of the year, everybody's tired from being the vendor, and I don't want to rush. I don't want to be somewhere for 3 hours or 5 hours. I want to hang out. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to hang out with the vendors. I want a chance to dance to my own DJ. You put 3 months or more worth of effort, or such intentional effort every day, into creating this love child that is a combination really of you, the people who would take part in it, or as the creator, you and source, you and the universe every day, because it's all energy. There's only a certain amount of things that are truly in your hands, and then there's all the rest of these things that you have to surrender to. And that's the nerve-wracking part. If you don't get good at surrendering, you don't know what the vendors are going to think about the job you did. You don't know what the customer is going to think about the job that you did. You really are an artist, and then you have to stand out there like feeling very naked to the world because you have so many eyes on you, and just say, well, listen, here's what I need you to know. I want to release the feelings I feel of measuring up to your expectations and measuring up to my own expectations. I have done my best from the moment that I started this inception to the very moment before this thing happened. I made sure that there was entertainment, that you were food, that you had beverages, that you were taken care of, that you were loved, that you were seen, that, you know, any little things that came up along the way, because things happen. My kid this, my husband this, my wife this, my cousin that, my car this, the person this, the gas, the customer, the Dunkin' Donuts line. People come in and they need a hug. They need love. They just need to get grounded. They have, and some people come in and they're like the beautiful butterfly, and they just like, they set the tone for the room. But when you're in a room full of so many different people, there's a lot of different things going on, and you are like the person that has to harmonize your orchestra. And you can't control people. You can only decide, this is the energy I'm going to stand in for the day. And I just want you to know that this is where I'm at. So hi, hello, how are you? I love you. I see you. You matter to me. Let's have the best show that we possibly can. And I want you to know that in order to make this day fantastic, here's everything that I thought of. Here's everything that I did. And if you feel like I could do something different or better, please don't spare me on feedback. If you something that you liked, something that you didn't like, tell me so that I could do better next time, because I'm a human being just like everybody else who has a learning curve. And I feel like as a coordinator, the learning curve is very, very steep. So having support from people that truly love you, or people that are patient with you as you go on your journey. Like my first show, I had like 50 people show up to it. We had 8 vendors, and it was nice, and it was hectic and timelines. So we started at 5. Some people didn't show up till 6. You never know what to expect. The next show was the worst, and like it's so hard to admit it, and it was a very painful part of my learning curve as a coordinator. But you learn from it, and you say, okay, well, I needed to advertise better, and I need to be mindful what's going on in that town. And then the third show, we were there 9 to 6, and we saw throughout that time frame 150 people. It's so easy to want to beat yourself up and say, I didn't see 600 people based on my efforts. Why didn't I see that? Why couldn't I provide that to them? And tear yourself down. But the other person, the people that are there with you say, well, Teresa, we saw 150 people. It's not just about the transaction in the moment. It's also about the residual connections that you have. Maybe you met your best friend. Maybe you met the love of your life. Maybe you met somebody there and they didn't have money on them now, but then they have money later and they remember you. There's so many different facets to being the vendor, being the coordinator, how you all interact with each other. So standing up there in the moment with that microphone is like, I have been up since 7 a.m. I went to bed at 4:30. I have been handing out flyers for weeks. I have been telling people, like, my mouth hurts because I've been talking so much. I got all of you organized in here. I got the DJ here. I got food here. We made sure that we checked our boxes with the Department of Health and Insurance, and we provided the best source of entertainment. And now I have to give it to God so that I can be a person too with the rest of you. Because if I don't do that, I can't be the person I want to be with you. And I just want to love you. So I also have to love me in order to love you. And I want to have this, I want to have a Christmas party or a Hanukkah or holiday or solstice, whatever you want to call it. I want to have that time with my friends where we hug and we dance. And, it's, as the organizer, it's like being at a wedding. You spin around for 5 hours, you check in with everybody, and then it's over. 3 months and boom, it's all over for you. So
I resonate with all of it. Really
just being able to be present is a really good feeling, and being able to have hugs and love and care and connection with the people that you work with, it's an invaluable gift.
Doing the tattoo conventions was hard for me because we had thousands of people, and I was put on. Shouts to Tattoo Lou for always helping me get that stuff set up. But I was the one that had to do exactly what you did, and you got to sit there in front of everybody, and they're like, "What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need?" And at that point, it's like, well, when do I get to enjoy this event? And there's sometimes I wasn't capable of. And it takes that time to hold that time to actually have that. And I got to say, though, the money was great, but it's not always about the money at the end of the day, So as much as I want to see that artist do his work, or see who won a trophy, or what pinup girl was doing this photography for this, we don't get those chances to do that because we're too busy holding the values of everybody else and trying to get their tables in line and getting their food right. Or then you find out the celebrity from Ink Masters comes down, then you got to act a certain way, or this guy comes out from another country. So you have to be able to find that fine line, and not everybody could get there. And it's good that you got there now, because you're about to hold some crazy events. And I'm just really looking forward to these things.
Oh, you're talking to me. I was like, yeah, we were all there for it.
No,
Jay and I have been able to collaborate, and it makes me really happy that we've already had a show down together, and that we have the shows that are in front of us together, because I learned so much from last year, but already my energy is so different. Coming away, last year, I was like, I'm going to do 4 shows and we're going to see how it goes. I have so many different creative outlets, things that I want to partake in. I just want to feel it out. I love everybody. I want to take these amazing artists. Being the creative person, you're not, let me phrase that. In school, you're the artist, and maybe somebody stands behind you and tells you that you have what it takes to make it. But more often than not, you're told to live in reality, to get real, get the real job. What's the value of art? And I think in our age group, as we saw these art programs and music programs being siphoned away from us, it was kind of being reinforced to us on a subconscious level that these things don't have the same value. But what if that is your very essence of self? and this is how you thrive and how you communicate with the world. And what if this is your calling and somebody else comes along and tells you you can't have your calling, you have to go do reality? This is my reality. What are you talking about? So it's like, and that is my personal experience, where it's like I went around for years trying to be what people told me to be rather than just owning my experience for myself. And when I never felt at home in my body until I was like, you know what? I did it all your way. I love you. Thank you for your input, but I need to go be myself again, for whatever that looks like. And I had coming to terms with confidence. I have to do me, regardless of what you say, regardless of what it looks like. I might be poor, I might fail, it might crash and burn, but I need to own it. Okay, there's a way that it's going to work out. So I took all these business mentoring classes. I had to be okay with failure to succeed. So being able to take these business mentor classes and get help, and then realizing that I could take these things that I learned in business and transfer them over to my art. I knew all these things about sales and connection and human relationships, and sales being relational rather than transactional, and was like, all right, this is what I'm going to use to succeed myself. And then I saw it happening and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then at these shows, I would meet people that I'm just starting out. I'm nervous. I mean, and they're there 1 minute and they're gone the next because they don't have confidence in themselves, or they don't see what they do as great, but they had something really great. And that happened a few times where it's like, no, wait, why did you stop? Oh, well, because I'm not making money, because I can't pay my rent, because, is it even good enough? And it's like, oh my God, it's good enough. Oh my God, no. Like you can't stop. You can't stop doing what you do.
I think that failure part is the biggest thing, is that we look at things and we know that failure is there, but you're supposed to have that. You're supposed to, oh, wow. As an artist, there's never failure, because what happens is that every piece of art you do can be changed at any point. So when you start doing things and understanding failure, and then you have a creative mind to take that and turn it around. Okay, I didn't have this, but I had this. I didn't get this, but I got this. And then it gets to a point where you're like, failure isn't an option anymore, because regardless of the failures that happen, they're not failures. And now I've had events that was supposed to be 5,000 people, and I wound up being maybe 700. It blew my boss's mind. And he's like, how did this happen? Well, that's not our problem. We did all the different work that was needed. But then we had to look at, well, what did we gain out of that? Well, we gain this, we gain this, we gain this. And then we go to the next event, and it's like, oh, now we have 7,000, 8,000 people. And it's like, well, that happened because we had to go through that first. So if you're looking at money-wise too, it's like you wind up profiting money-wise on the second runaround, or even the third runaround. But you have to look at it as not a failure. Like once you feel failure, then you switch it right after you feel it. You
have to alchemize in order to survive, in order to transcend.
Yeah, and remembering why you started in the first place. That always grounds me back. Like remembering why I started.
Absolutely. It's the same. Like I had so much struggle with self-confidence just to be able to be myself. And that's why I like that phrasing that I have on my shirt or different places. It's like, you have to burn your boat. Like creating Zenshine was my island. And in order to create Zenshine and anything that I've done since creating Zenshine, I had to literally say, like, my old life has to go in order for my new life to be here. And regardless of what I face, and I kept thinking about it, and I'm dramatic and humorous in my own mind. So I was like, what if that is my island? I'm on my boat and I see this island and I'm going through this big old ocean, and I'm like, wow, what a beauty. It has flowers and coconuts and it has all these amazing things. And this is how it looks like from the outside. And then if I'm impulsive, I just burn my boat and say, well, that's my island. And boom, here's my boat burned. And I get onto shore. I have no idea what's there. It could be anacondas. It could be cannibals. Like,
it's all about the anacondas.
All I know is that I said I was going to go all the way and do it. So now I'm here and now I have to do it. And I'm a big history buff, and I love George Washington. And I feel like he really set the tone for me in my mind, especially when I started, as like a mentor to look up to, because no matter what challenge he faced, he always used this like pivot or adversity. So it's like I have this image in my mind of George Washington being a football player, and he's always rolling to the side to protect his ball. And he's like, nope, not today, still creating USA. Nope, not today, still creating USA. And it's like, oh, feast. I mean, you're going through famine in the winters here, and he needs to get Congress to send him these rations for the soldiers. And, it's like, they were like, oh, thank God, this is finally going to be over. We can go back to the monarchy. We can release this whole war. And he's like, oh, not going to give me what I need? No problem. Georgie's got it. He starts writing to the landholders to get rations. Only when those rations get delivered does Congress show up and be like, oh, you were serious? You actually needed those things? And George is like, yeah, cool as a cucumber. Like, I did need those things, but now I don't. Don't worry. I know you guys are busy doing whatever it is you're doing over there. And I'm like, he's such a boss. He's such a boss.
You made Hamilton do everything. Made him do everything. Let me stop.
So yeah, just having those like points of inspiration of why you do what you do. Like, crystals to me were just always such a big part of my life. And then the spirituality and what are my values? I love, source is real, and we have this power inside. And when we're willing to claim that power, we can do anything. And doing these things in my own life personally, when I thought, okay, one day I'm going to die, I have no idea when my expiration date is, but what's the most important thing that I can do? I can be a good friend. I can be a great artist. I can teach people that you have power inside. I can teach people that source is real, and it doesn't have to be a religious affiliation. They just need to understand how loved they are. And I can hold space. I can create things with people, taking my experience and always being humble enough to go through new experiences and keep feeding energy into it. But that there is no true failure. There's mistakes, there's learning curves, there's opportunities, but my own mindset is going to dictate my success. So if I could share that with other like-minded people and say, please don't give up. Actually, can I show you another way to look at this situation? And then when you see them pivot and it actually helps them, you have this good feeling inside, not because you're like patting your back, like, oh, I helped them succeed. Yay, me. But it's like somebody lived their dream because of a tool you learned from someone else. And people are constantly teaching and pouring into you. So you get to teach and pour into others, and you're all filling each other's cups, and it makes you feel connected to something.
That's right.
That's the value point for me.
And that's key. I want to say one thing. You talk about burning your boat. I like burning my pictures and all my artwork. Do you ever burn your mushrooms?
You burn it. Wait, I want to ask you why.
Oh, no. This isn't about me. Teresa could say it, but this isn't about me. I want
to know. No. I'm explaining this because this is the first time that I ever heard him talk to me about, I've never heard an artist burning their own stuff. So Jay was the first one. So if Jay feels an energy or a spirit when he creates, the essence of the creativity comes to him and he goes, oh, ding, this is what I want to create. And he starts painting and getting into the art. And then he turns around and he's like, he creates that art. And if it doesn't sell in 3 months, then he burns it. Because he's like, there was an energy and an essence. There was a version of me that made that. And there was a version of
it's the next one to go. Hold on.
Yeah, this is the energy that I was in when I created this. And if it doesn't appeal,
this is the next to be burnt.
If it doesn't appeal to people, then I'm just burning it. And I'm like, but what, you're so gifted. Why don't you want to burn it? Maybe a year from now, somebody comes along and that's the perfect one.
It's more than just being gifted on doing the artwork. It's so, like you said, I'll talk about it, but then I want to know about if she ever burnt her house down with
I'll share after, but yeah.
Okay. So every time I do a piece of art, I don't really like to express this because I get a lot of feedback on this. I feel energy that comes in, and I like to say a lot of the time it's the Holy Spirit. I usually keep all that with me, but then other times it's not. And I'm real about it. I'm really real. Like I love when children are around because that's the best essence. Like family members who pass or things that are going on or lifestyles comes in, and it's like you just see the joy of the warmth of who love those children or just the children themselves. And it's really cool getting that energy. But then there's sometimes I'm drawing something and I'm making something and I'm like, so much is happening, and I just let it go. So I don't really even look at the artwork. I'm like zoned out and I just create. After a point in time, if that energy doesn't transfer to like the next person, or they get that piece of art in a certain amount of time, I can't keep it in storage. I can't keep it in my home. I just don't want that in my life, because not that it's bad. It's just that wasn't, I like other people's artwork that give me energy. Why would I hold my own artwork to give me energy? That artwork that's given to me was, that present was already given to me already. It was given to me when I made it. And that's that. So 4 months.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yes, and I like honor your process. For me, so I don't burn it because it's also toxic. So I'm not gonna burn the clay, but I do like destroy. So like let's say a lighter case, right, that I made like a few years ago, and I've had that. I'm like, well, I have this metal case, I have this crystal that's just sitting here. And like, I feel the same that you do of like, it takes up space. And like, I like having other people's art too. So if there's an art piece that I don't really resonate with, I don't want it in my space. Like, I like to recreate something, especially when like I can still repurpose the materials. So I'll sit there with a like a freaking like hammer and I'll like take apart the lighter case and I'll save the crystal and I'll recreate something. And I've been doing that because, lighter cases are kind of expensive for the metal cases. And I'm like, well, I have a bunch here that I don't even use. So I've been recreating that. And a lot of the crystals too, I have one of each. So maybe there's a necklace that I made a couple years ago and it was, I was experimenting, or maybe it didn't sell. So I feel that as well. I repurpose it more if I could. If it's just like a clay piece and I don't really resonate, it is going to go in the trash. Say, I'm like, okay, goodbye. You're done. I do hold on. Like I have a whole plate on my desk right now of random pendants that I've made a few years ago. And it's
Well, if
taking
you're
up
gonna
space.
throw it out, that's different. That doesn't get like, that's just like, oh my god, I would just give them away at the events then. Though your giveaways, those would be like giveaways.
But like those to me that are like, oh my God, but yeah, exactly. But like the quality isn't that good. But actually, I have a friend specifically, my friend Venus, she loves my rejects, loves them because I'll have like maybe it'll be like a little crack or something or whatever it is. And she's like, I love it. So that's why I'm keeping the plate
Okay.
because I can give it away. And I liked that reframe. There are like most of the time too, like if something didn't sell for a really long time, I will end up giving it away. Like if someone buys something and really loves it, like I'll give them something for free, depending on, what it is. Like at the last event that, at Teresa's event, there was a woman who I've seen like 2 years ago, and she gifted me a pendant randomly. Like she took it off her neck and just like gave it to me. She felt called. It was a pine cone. It made sense. And then I was like, okay. I looked at my table. I'm like, and there was a pendant that hasn't been like sold in a long time, so I gave it to her. So I do like, extend that and share it because I don't necessarily want to throw it away, but I do like to repurpose. So if something wasn't, catching my eye or doesn't align anymore, let me recreate something.
That's
I
the
have
cool
to let
part.
the energy go. Like I have to burn that because it's an energy that doesn't need to be around. It's different. It's different. I guess maybe
It's
it's not
like
different.
canvas. Yeah, because even if you paint over, like I destroy it, right? Like
Right.
you
That
have to
that
paint
I
over
understand.
it and that energy is still there. So that I get that for sure.
It definitely, like when you're burning the canvas, it's like it's art in itself, because you're showing the art of release, you're showing the art of transformation, that you created life and then you get to watch it extinguish so that something else can be born from that energy. And that's that process in itself. Like Haley's like, come on, Jay, start putting them on YouTube and let us watch the burnings when they happen every 4 months. Burning video.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
So I have a couple questions and then we're going to wrap it up. So where do you see yourself going from here? Aside from the wood, what does this year look like? What are your dreams?
Yeah, so this year, I definitely am focusing more on my like facilitating somatic movement. I know that's a little different than what we're talking about. But before I speak about that, like with art, I still want to, I'm going to be very intentional with the events that I do. I'm in hibernation, but I will come out of hibernation for events that align with me. I definitely want to slow down a little bit
Mm.
with making pieces, you know. I am in a course right now for my somatic movement. It's passion for me, and I really want to tap into that more. That's like that's my dharma, you know, that is my purpose on life to guide people in that way. But I am going to continue to make art because it is my meditation. And I definitely want to focus more on, you know, I was talking about the wood, but even more like intentional pieces for people, you know,
Mm.
just like going slow. And I don't want to be like a powerhouse, like making all these pieces, feeling like the pressure for these events or online. Like it always takes away the joy for me. So just continuing to be intentional and balance. Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Vision statement. What do you want people to know about you?
Here we go.
Oh. Mm.
Don't whisper.
I want them to feel my heart through my work. I want them to feel my emotion, not like they're attaching to it, but feeling my emotion through my pieces. That this truly is my therapy, and I am unapologetically myself, you know, and that when I make my art, it is through raw emotion. So I just want them to know that.
Okay.
She lives in
Do
her.
you have a piece that you think is your best piece? What's your best piece that you ever made? What's the thing you're most proud of?
I'll show you.
Nice. I seen that piece.
It has it has to
Right?
be this one. It
Why
has
is
to
it
It's
that
be.
one?
the feminicity in that is amazing.
The feminicity.
I feel like the screen just glowed.
There was
Um,
one.
this one's my favorite because it's so bold and
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically itself, you know, like a few years ago I would have never made a piece like this because I would have felt really insecure, like shameful, you know, like I shouldn't make pieces like this. But this represents me, like where I came from, my embodiment, my creatrix. Um, and
It's
just like
beautiful.
all Thank you. All the crystals are really intentional. The moss, like you know, Mother Earth holds
Mhm.
me and guides me, you know, like I feel like I definitely channel Mother Earth when I'm making these pieces. And I did try to sell this for a couple years, but it wasn't meant for anyone else. It was meant for me.
I've
It was
had
meant to
moments
be
like that.
hung up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like, and
Yep.
that's another thing.
You
Like
make
sometimes
something, you
things
think
aren't
it's
meant to.
leaving, but all of a sudden, that
No.
was my rose quartz piece this year, and it broke 6 times. It was like my channel piece as I
Mm.
was going through this year, the acceleration of energy and transformations. It was like I made it, and I had to actually walk around the block a halfway into to making it. I got like the bottom to the middle, and I was like, oh my god, the energy is so high and it's so intensely feminine, and I need to go take a walk to process and be able to receive the rest of this to create the full thing. And then I was like, all right, let me put it on to take a picture of it so people can see what it looks like. And I put it on, and it was like, oh, and I was like, this is for sale. I always take things from the store. I have to also make a living. Okay, it's definitely for someone else. And then I was like, oh, but this feels really, really amazing. And then, you know, take it off. Okay, we're going to sell it. It's okay. Don't worry. And then the next day I was like, okay, just 5 minutes. And then the next day I was like, okay, just a half hour. And then I was like, who the hell am I kidding? This is mine. It's great when you just own it. Now, my next question to you is, if someone wants to contact you to receive work from you, to buy any of these beautiful earrings that we do, how do we contact you?
Instagram, my art page is definitely the best place to reach me. Even though I have two Instagrams, I'm always checking my art page. So yeah, my art page or my personal page. But yeah, I always love receiving DMs from people, especially new people who are peeping in and looking at what I got. But yeah, I love questions and people who even just want like they see something on my page but want something similar because I do make one of one of each. Like every piece is one of a kind. So if someone sees something they like but don't see that I'm posting it again, like please don't be afraid. Like screenshot it, send it to me, be like, I want this exactly this way, or I want it a little different. I love little projects like that. So
Beautiful. So what is your business Instagram page and what is your personal Instagram page?
So my art page for business is Earthly Mystic Shop.
That's cool.
And yes, and then my personal is Embodied Soulflower.
I love it. I think that's it. I think those are all the questions I have. We've been here together for an hour and a half. Is there any last parting words you'd like to share? Jay, is there any questions you want to ask?
No, no more questions. I want to say thank you. And thank you for being on the show. Thank you for becoming a vendor at these amazing events. And you not just entertaining, but you also giving knowledge and showing your journey. And it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yes,
thank you for doing this with us. Thank you for being our first show.
What an honor. Seriously, such an honor. Like, thank you for giving me the space to share my story of how I got started with my art. I really have never like shared it like publicly, like on social media. So it's really nice to share this because I wasn't just like born with this or like, studied this or anything. Like it just happened. And like Peter said, like it really is like passed down to me from spirit. Like I was always meant to do this. I just didn't know. So it's really nice to share this. And I'm just really looking forward to the next event and to connect and share and show everyone what I've been cooking up.
Can't wait.
I'm very, very excited. I feel like because of the way that this one is designed, actually, I really got to give a lot of credit to Jay. He never takes credit, which, we can overcome his modesty together. But being able to have somebody to create with and create against has been really amazing for me to feel, and probably is contributing to the feeling of like relaxation and having an enjoyable time. Because when you're by yourself and you're putting all these pieces together and you feel personally responsible for every facet of everything, it's a lot for one person to do. But being able to like shoulder it against somebody, especially someone that is a very awesome person that you work very well with, gives you a better balance within yourself, and it returns the fun, the reason why you got started to begin with. Because it's great to help people, but it's not so fun when you watch everyone else have fun and then you're like, I wish I could have fun,
Yeah.
You're doing all the work.
That's your rule. To have fun this one. You have to have fun.
I know. This year, this is like a big year for fun and to have balance. And that was something that we bonded over, both, all of us did, is that this is a year of creativity and letting it all out. And it feels like really anything is possible when you work together with a group of like-minded people, like knowing that we're going to do February and we're going to have this fun creative process with each other. And then May is going to be huge. We have this month-long big project that we are like super excited to unleash, and I'm not going to tell you anything else about it. But I'm like very, very excited for it. And then we just
but anybody who's at this February is going to know about the event. So if you show up to February 7th, you're gonna know about this event.
It's true. Yeah, we've been working on it while we've been working on February. And like I said, that's one of the things that's so nice is normally it's me like putting together the event and then working on the next month, the event for next month, and, start 6 months here and then 3 months here and then it's launched. And to have like somebody to like ping pong the creative process with, I feel like
I don't want my feminine to come out.
I feel like we're getting more done than, so there's what we can accomplish independently. And let's say that I can do 80% independently on my own.
You can do a lot.
And vice versa. Like Jay can maybe do 80% on its own. So you would think if we got together that we would be doing 160%. But I feel like because of the way that we work together, we're doing 240%. So we're doing more, we're accomplishing more, we're growing, we're having fun, and then we get to plug into the people that, and I feel like because I'm being taken care of by my friend, that I can take better care of the people that I want to, which is probably the thing that makes me the grumpiest, is I want to be more. I want more of me to go around. But when I'm inundated with this stuff, I feel like, oh, I can't get to the place that I want to. So Jay being there to provide me that space, and they say, don't worry, I'll take care of that for you. Go do this. I'm like, oh, thank God, I can go be that nurturer. I can give you a hug. I can make you a meal. I can hold space for you.
You
Thank
partnered
you.
up with Existence Plus too now, which is a big deal.
I know. Existence Plus magazine is something that I'm super excited about. We were able to put all of our different vendors in that magazine, and we're able to share something with the vendor community. And I feel like the parallels, like that's the most recent post I wrote, is that there's a lot of parallels between the reason why I started the events and then also having the magazine, because we're providing opportunities to people. Like even this podcast, my most recent post, the magazine, and the events, they're all aligned. Yeah. It's to get people to know who the artists are for their own hearts and souls. Acknowledgement for the artist, acknowledgement for the musician. Who are you? How did you get started? Why do you do what you do? Why do you continue to do what you do? It's not necessarily easy to be a vendor, and vending is so inconsistent. Like one day you make 100, one day you make 500, one day you make 200, one day you make $2, the next day you make, it's so crazy, but your rent still depends on it just the same. So there has to be a reason why you're living to, you're willing to live this craziness.
I think you're coming with me to Hagerstown this month or a couple of months from now, because I'm about to go back.
What are you doing out there?
I'm doing another mural. They just started their art district, and I was the first one to make the artwork there. So like I'm already getting phone calls back now, which is awesome.
Wow.
So
I'm very excited. You made it in the news too. Because I saw your picture on the news and I posted that as well.
Thank you. But I'm saying, I think I'm going to just bring a group with me this time. We'll get like an Airbnb and just like chill for like the week I'm spraying, so you could all like have fun in that area. Because I think that's going to be the best bet for like everybody to like have their vacay. Is yes, I'll be working, but you guys will be like vacaying and supporting and building together and enjoying. And if we could get more people to do that motivationally, then we could start seeing and networking with different people in different states.
Yeah.
So I'm looking
relationships and connections is what makes everything possible. Yeah. And that, I think that's something for people to be mindful of, is like, but no matter what, like that's a key thing that my business mentor taught me too, is like Teresa, because at the time I worked in sales when I was getting mentored by my business mentor. And, when you're in sales, I had a house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in the village of Lake Grove, and I had a car and bills to pay. And I was like, oh my God, I am uber adulting. And I'm just going to take this life where like I'm doing well, still working on commission because I did real estate and I did credit card processing. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to go whap. I'm going to go be an artist. Let's see how that goes. It's like, that is a nerve-wracking experience. But when you know what you're supposed to do, you just got to do it.
And that's the one thing I want to ask you. I know we're at the end of the show already, but I want you to I could see this, so I'm going to say it. You're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, Eve. Everything. Literally everything. And the more you put your time in the special places you need it, the stronger you're going to get with whatever you're going to do. And just keep that process moving. And that's really where I want everybody to motivate themselves, because if we could motivate ourselves or have time with the divine God, the powers that be, to just build and to take in the understanding that we can do so much more when we're ready. And when we're ready is the key point.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing is not to hold yourself back waiting to be ready either. It's being willing to jump in and take on the new experiences. And that's where the relationship with self and the relationship with source come in. Because if you listen to your inner guiding force, you'll know, okay, it's time to go left, it's time to go right. And you'll be able to move. So life is all this like gentle dance about how you move forward, how you step left, step right, where to go. And you're never going to know where to go if you don't check in with yourself and go from interior guidance rather than exterior thoughts.
Interior ebb and flow. Yeah, just like focusing on like almost like that one thing, that doorway, and then it will lead you to where else needs to like come through.
I agree. And I think that we need to stop looking at things like something's meant to be forever, because when we have that mindset, then we get more emotionally racked over the experience of this is supposed to be forever. And when it doesn't meet that expectation, then we have this like emotional crumbling experience, because it's like life. What?
Are you talking to me right now? Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm not talking to you, because I'm talking about like the fact, like there's this thing that I heard that really lives in my brain rent free.
Okay.
And it's like, let's say that you felt guided to open up a restaurant.
Mhm.
And you love to cook, you've loved to cook your whole life, you've saved your money, you went to work, and you just like, you kept putting it all together, and eventually one day you opened up your restaurant. It was like one of the proudest days of your life, and you go through the process of having a restaurant, and you think to it, there's birthdays, there's funerals, there's people who just come out to eat, there's holidays. Think of how many people that you serve in that restaurant, and you think, oh my God, I love this, we're gonna have this restaurant forever, my house, my life, my everything and everyone is gonna be balanced off of this restaurant. And then one day something happens. Maybe your restaurant burns to the ground, maybe finances go haywire. In people at that point, then if they're not mindful, then they crumble under the emotional pressure of how this restaurant was supposed to be forever. But what if it was only ever meant to be a season? And think about how many people's lives you touched in that 10 years. So the question at the end of this commentary was, if you knew going into this restaurant that it would only be for 10 years, would you do it? And it was like a social experiment. And most people said no. And fewer people said yes. So it's like when we have the expectation that something's going to last forever, we're more willing to say yes. But what if that thing that we experience, we impacted 1 million people and 1 million people impacted us? What if that was supposed to be a chapter for us? So instead of looking at life as a series of the things that last forever, which ultimately don't last forever, even if they last a lifetime, if we look at it in a season of chapters, a season of, I'm supposed to experience this then so that I can experience the next thing. Stop being so future focused. And obviously you want to, especially going through this most recent car accident. I've learned so much about how to create like a nest egg in a future. That's important. But at the same time, it's like being present, being grounded, being intentional, understanding that some things are meant to be seasons, and accepting that life is not necessarily supposed to be perfect, or the box, or the lifetime. We're here in an earth school together to walk each other home and to understand all the great mysteries that life is, and enjoy the process the best we can while we do it.
Yes. Aho.
Aho.
Perfectly said.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
I love you both. I love you all out there. Thanks for being part of our episode 1. I'm super excited for episode 2. And we will catch you next time on...
Who do we have for episode 2?
What?
Oh, wait. Who do we have for episode 2? Do we have it yet?
I'm not telling you. It's a secret.
You're going to secret me again? You did this with this one. You had a wonderful person on. You secreted me.
Every person I know is a wonderful person. It will all be secrets until I'll announce it online, and you'll have to see it there just like everyone else.
Amazing.
I'm
Thanks for having me.
Loving having you on too, Eve.
Yes,
thank you, Genevieve. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Much love.
Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop.